Oh, happy Halloween, my friends, and welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. I hope you're all having a very happy and safe holiday. Halloween, if you don't know this, is my favorite holiday. I'm, of course, David On Point Huffman. I'm going to be your host. I'm running solo today, so bear with me as I give you your Week 9 fantasy football rankings as we're about an hour away from the kickoff of Week number 9, where the New York Jets will take on the Houston Texans. I believe that game is in MetLife Stadium, the home of the New York Jets. But yeah, happy Halloween. I'm dressed up as um, Paul Revere. So Midnight Ride on Paul Revere. My cat is a little bear, but I don't know where she went. I can't look for her right now. So that's gonna have to be a side note. But thank you very much for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast if you like what we're doing here at Prime Sports World, as we give you guys basically daily content for you guys to see. Oh, my microphone isn't even plugged in. Oh, yes, it is. I can't actually tell. Hold on. Yeah, my microphone's plugged in. We're good. Let's get ready to rumble. Let's talk about them signal callers. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. And for some reason, there you are. Hey, come here. Hey, look. There's my cat. Happy Halloween, Pace. Happy Halloween. All right. Put her down. All right, put her down. All right, back to the signal callers. I got number 1. I got Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to have a massive game for the Philadelphia Eagles as they are taking on. Hold on a second. Sorry. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who every single caller that's played against them has had a massive performance. And then Josh Allen going up against the Miami Dolphins. Josh Allen's on a mission right now. Joe Burrow going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. Two teams that definitely need to get a victory. And Matthew Stafford in my top 5. I saw what he did last night on Thursday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings, going up against a defense that's not nearly as good in the Seattle Seahawks. Got all those weapons there. Lamar Jackson at number 5. It might seem a little bit low. It might seem a little bit disrespectful, but I do think that he's going up against a pretty formidable defense there in the Denver Broncos. Look for him to have some struggles there on offense. Still in my top 5. 6, Sam Darnold. Look for him to, he had a pretty good game against the Rams, but not really what you were looking for. But that should be a very good and entertaining football game against the Indianapolis Colts. Let's not forget what happened to the Colts last time these two teams played. They hung up 39 points on the Indianapolis Colts. Patrick Mahomes, number 2 there, going against Tampa Bay. Looks like to be a mini shootout. Jaden Daniels, he showed he's healthy against the Chicago Bears, going up against the Giants team. It's just not that good. Number 9, Kirk Cousins. Look for him to continue to throw the football for the Atlanta Falcons as they go head-to-head with the Dallas Cowboys. And then in that same matchup is the Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. In my outside looking in, I got Caleb Williams going up against Chicago Bears, going against the Arizona Cardinals. Could be a high-scoring affair. Jameis Winston, I like what I saw at him. His one start there for the Cleveland Browns. This should be a pretty favorable matchup for the Cleveland Browns as well, if they're going up against the Chargers, who have given them some passing yards throughout the season so far. And then Kyler Murray going against my Chicago Bears. I still think that game could be a mini shootout, potentially. And then my sneaky and daily 5,400, I got Jameis Winston. I think you could roll the dice with him at 5,400. It's a pretty cheap option when it comes to daily fantasy. And then from the signal callers, let's talk about them running backs. I got Kyron Williams as the number 1 running back for me this week. A little bit of a swerve, but I like what I saw at him in the offense, how they're using him in the passing game, how they're using him in the running game. I think he's going to have 30-plus touches in that game against the Seattle Seahawks. Kyron Williams is a must start. And if you're going to roll the dice on daily, I would roll the dice on Kyron Williams for sure. Number 2, Bijan Robinson. Same kind of concept. The Atlanta Falcons going against the Dallas Cowboys. They've given up a lot of yards on the ground, especially in the last 2 weeks. Atlanta is built to run the football. 3, Saquon Barkley might be a little low, might be a little disrespectful, but I have those other 2 guys just higher. Same thing with King Henry. I just think Denver's a tough defense. I think he's still in my top 5, but I would be, if you're expecting him to have that 100-yard rushing game and those multiple touchdowns, I would pump the brakes a little bit there. Number 5, James Cook. Buffalo shows they're committed to running the football. He had 2 touchdowns last week. They're going to continue to feed him the rock. Number 6, Joe Mixon. If Houston wants to win tonight, they will keep Joe Mixon involved. Number 6 in my running back ratings. 7, Josh Jacobs. He's running for the top 5 rushing offenses in the NFL. And I also think they want to keep that Detroit Lions offense off the football field. The way you do that is running the football. Number 8 could be Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery. I think both of them are interchangeable. I don't think you can really predict who's going to have the massive game out of that running back position for the Lions. But I will roll the dice. It's going to be David Montgomery in this particular matchup. And then the former Green Bay Packer, Aaron Jones. The Colts have been weak against the run basically all season. Aaron Jones is going to be a plug-and-play guy. Kenneth Walker III going up against the Los Angeles Rams. I like him in that matchup as well. From there, I got Jonathan Taylor on my outside looking in. I just think the Minnesota Vikings have been pretty stout on defense so far this season. I know they weren't necessarily great against the Rams, but the Colts don't have nearly the offense. And I'm not sure what they're going to look like with Joe Flacco under center now. Number 2, Breece Hall tonight going up against the Houston Texans. And 3, Kareem Hunt. He's solidified as the number 1 running back there in Kansas City as they take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. And then I got Antonio Gibson, 5,100, continues to eat into that workload for Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots. He had more carries than Stevenson last week, so I think he's a value play, 5,100. And Roschon Johnson is just a touchdown machine, touchdown hawk. He's had 3 touchdowns in the last couple of weeks, so 4,900 for a guy who's probably going to get into the end zone. Pretty good value at the running back position at 4,900. And if you guys have any questions during this stream, you want to ask me any trade advice, you want to ask me any starts or sits, I will answer any of those questions. Just put them down into the comment section. I also should mention that all my sneaky and daily graphics and players are all for DraftKings. If you watch our show on a regular basis, you know that Izzy does FanDuel, I do DraftKings. So all my sneaky and daily guys are going to be DraftKings. So to keep that in mind when it comes to my sneaky and daily stuff. From there, we got the wide receivers. I got Justin Jefferson at number 1. He's just been unguardable this season. I mean, he's been just bulletproof. Number 2, A.J. Brown. As the Philadelphia Eagles take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. This offense has really taken off since he's been returned from injury. 3, Jamar Chase. 4, Drake London going up against the Dallas Cowboys, have a banged-up secondary. 5, CeeDee Lamb. I just don't think you can bench him in a game where they were not even remotely competitive against the San Francisco 49ers. He was still a top 5 play when it comes to fantasy football. And then number 6, I got Terry Scary McLaurin. I just think that he has risen. Like him and Jalen McDaniels have a really nice rapport, and I think that's going to continue as we go through the season. And then I got DJ Moore by Chicago Bears. Look for him to potentially have his best game of the season against the Arizona Cardinals. Tyreek Hill, you got Tua Tagovailoa back in the mix. Look for him to have back to being his old speedy self. And then number 9, I got the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown, going up against the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, I'm a little bit lower on the Sun God than I usually am in these rankings, but Green Bay's defense is stout, and they do force turnovers. I think that Lions-Packers game is going to be fantastic. So I would still start him, but I would temper your expectations a little bit. And then number 10, I got Malik. Will he be my neighbor's neighbor? I like how he's involved in the passing attack. Look at him, like he's just coming off that injury. Look for him to get even more involved this week as he goes up against the Washington Commanders team. I know that they played well, but I just don't know how good this defense really is. They're playing higher than I think their competition or their skill level is. And then my outside looking in, I got Puka Nacua, Amari Cooper, and Tank Dell. I think Tank Dell is the wide receiver you want to start there in Houston now that Nico Collins is out for a couple more weeks and Stephon Diggs is unfortunately lost for the season. And then my sneaky and daily, I got Cedric Tillman, who had 2 touchdowns for the Cleveland Browns last week at 4,300. Khalif Raymond, who gives you yardage in the return game and in the passing game. And as long as Jameson Williams is going to continue to be out, Khalif Raymond is kind of wide receiver too, and an offense that's going to put up numbers. And then Jalen Cooker, rookie for the Carolina Panthers at 3,600. Now, they just traded away Deontay Johnson. That's just another mouth that's no longer there in Carolina. Look for. I'm sorry. I think it's Cooker. Look for him to have a good offensive game for the Carolina Panthers. From the wide receivers to them slightly bulkier pass catchers, I got my tight end rankings on the screen right there for you now. I got number 1, I got Brock freaking Bowers of the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not willing to say that he's the best real-life tight end in the NFL, but he's for sure the best fantasy tight end in the NFL right now. Same thing with Trey McBride. Had just been linking up with Kyler Murray. They have a good rapport between the two of them. Those two guys, if you drafted those two guys late in fantasy drafts, you are sitting pretty right now at the tight end position. 3, Travis Kelce, old reliable, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he's going to want to prove something. 4, Cade Otton. The first game that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin missed. He had 2 touchdowns in that game. That's good enough reason for me to have him in the top 5. I think he's going to be more of a focal point in the offense than many people predict. Number 5, David Njoku. As long as Jameis Winston continues to be the quarterback, I think the rapport there between Njoku and Winston is real. 6, Sam Laporta. He just continues to get touchdowns. I mean, he touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Look for roll the dice with him. Cole Kmet, yes, I am very concerned about his uses in the offense. He was basically non-existent in that game against the Washington Commanders, but he's still talented. He's probably the number 2 wide receiver, should be the number 2 wide receiver there in Chicago after DJ Moore. And at 8, Evan Ingram. Ever since he's returned from injury, he's just been a absolute, like the touchdown he caught against the Green Bay Packers over like 3 defenders was an absolute dime by Evan Ingram. So I continue to roll the dice with him. And 9, Kyle Pitts. It's not National Tight End Day, so I don't know what you really expect out of him because he's been really slow so far this season. But I would roll the dice with Kyle Pitts. And then TJ Hockenson returning from the IR. I do believe this week, if he does return and is ready to go, I would plug and play him. If you were able to keep him on your IR, if you're able to keep on your roster and just kind of stash him until now, I think you absolutely have to play him. He's one of the most talented tight ends in the NFL. And I think it's not going to be long before he's back up in the top 5 where TJ Hockenson belongs. And then my outside looking in, I got Hunter Henry, who's probably the most valuable pass catcher there in New England. Dalton Kincaid of the Buffalo Bills. I know they traded for Amari Cooper, and I know Keon Coleman has really come on over the last 2 weeks. But Dalton Kincaid, he got a touchdown last week, continues to be a major focal point in that offense for the Buffalo Bills. And then my other option, sneaking or outside looking in, is Mark Andrews, 3 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. They're obviously looking for him again over Isaiah Likely, and he's probably the guy I'd rather start over Isaiah Likely. Then my sneaky daily 3,000 in DraftKings is Adam Troutman. Nice rapport there with Bo Nix. Got into the end zone last week. I do think this is a much tougher matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. But given that he's going to need some sort of escape valve of multiple plays in this game, I think Adam Troutman is worth just rolling the dice on at 3,000. And then my defense is on the other side of the football. Let's swing. I got number 1. I got the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Denver Broncos. I just think that, I know the secondary is a concern for the Baltimore Ravens, but this Denver offense, it can sputter out at times, and we've seen Bo Nix really play poorly. So I got to roll the dice. And then tonight, Houston Texans going up against the New York Jets. That offensive line is still a problem for the Jets. The Texans can exploit that with a dominant pass rush. 3, New England Patriots. Yeah, I might be surprised to see the Patriots up this high, especially since they just traded away Josh Uche. But this has still been a solid defense so far this season. And they're going up against the Tennessee Titans offense that will give you one. I don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be for the Titans. It doesn't really matter if it's Mason Rudolph or Will Levis. Either one of those 2 guys will give you one at least in this game. For the Buffalo Bills going up against Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. I would be semi-cautious about Buffalo because they have given up some yardage here in various weeks, but I think this is going to be a game where they dominate from start to finish. Then the Commanders going up against the Giants. Daniel Jones, his offensive line has just been in flux and terrible. He's made mistakes and he's thrown picks, and he has cost them games for real. Then I got the outside looking at. I got the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think there is some concern that game could become a shootout, but I still think the Eagles can clamp down on the Trevor Lawrence-led offense and give you some decent points there in fantasy. And then the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott has been sloppy with the football so far this season. The Falcons have been a very opportunistic defense. They only have, I think, 4 pressures quarterback sacks so far this season, but they have generated the most interceptions, I think, so far this year. So I think that's going to be a void of confidence there for the Atlanta Falcons. And then my last team on my outside looking at is the Chicago Bears going up against the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals have kind of been a Jekyll and Hyde team so far this season. There are games where they look outstanding, where they've put up big points and they played well on offense. There are other games where they've put up clunkers. The Chicago Bears defense is probably the best defense they're going to play so far this season. No disrespect to San Francisco, but this Bears defense is playing lights out right now. I think that they get after Kyler Murray. I think they get a pick or 2. Give me the Chicago Bears. My last time outside looking in. And then my sneaky and daily, also the Chicago Bears at 2,800. This is in DraftKings. I think that's a pretty good value for a defense that could be in the top 5 when the week's all said and done. That's been my week 9 fantasy football rankings And as we do every single week here on this show at Prime Sports World, we're going to try to predict who the number one scorer in fantasy is going to be for this upcoming week. Last week, it was CeeDee Lamb with 39.6 fantasy points. He had 13 catches for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Dallas Cowboys. Rounding out the top 5 was Jalen Hurts, Bo Nix, Ladd McConkey, and tight end Cade Otton. If I'm going to make a prediction for who I think will be the number one scorer in fantasy when this week is all said and done, I'm going to go Kyren Williams. I love the way the Rams use Kyren Williams in the passing game and in the running game. I think Kyren Williams, when it's all said and done, when week 9 comes to a close, Kyren Williams will be the number one scorer in fantasy football this week. If you have any other questions, please reach out to me on fantasy football on the Prime Sports World Facebook page. If you do, send a comment down to the Prime Sports World Facebook page. My name is David Huppman. Thank you very much for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Y'all have a good week, and thank you very much for joining us because we bring the heat. And I hope you all have a very happy and safe Halloween. Peace out.